Hey everyone, I just have a few questions here for the believers, particularly the Christian believers. And I've asked this on different forums and of Christian friends, and I've got some interesting answers. The common ones are, mystery, or you can't really know the mind of God, or I don't know. And but usually the I don't know is found, is kind of muddled in there with the other two. So. Anyway, I was hoping to get a few more responses because for me, a guy sitting on the fence on all this, I feel like this is a big question. So instead of just asking, I'm going to walk you through kind of a little PowerPoint presentation here I put together, kind of get an idea of what I'm asking, because sometimes I get some confusion. So. From people as to what I'm actually asking. So anyway, it kind of starts out from birth. So you're born, and then unfortunately you die. And then in between there, you live a little. So you got, the average, I think right now in America is about 85 years. But then, of course it goes beyond that because we have eternity, right? So we kind of our short little stint here, and then, we technically live forever, right? If you're depending on what you believe, and you're either going to be in heaven, or hell, boo. So kind of what determines that is God, right? So I added this kind of what I call the God layer here to represent God. And so God is timeless, omniscient, omnipresent, all-powerful, and all that. So this bar kind of goes before you're born and, right through your death, through eternity, and then forever, right? So what it is, I pulled out the omniscience layer, I'm going to call that, because that's the one I care about right now, because God knows everything. He knows everything you're going to do before you're born. He has plans for you before you're born. He knows all the hairs on the top of your head. And all of that. So essentially, he knows before you were born, when you're going to be born, how long you're going to live, the exact moment you're going to die, and then your place in eternity. So let's add a little bit of life to our little guy here. So kind of how I broke this out was, so you live a little bit and then you sin, right? And then God, of course, knew that. He knew you were going to sin before you sinned. But you also did good deeds, and he knew that too. He knew all the good deeds you're going to do. And then I've explained this to Christians, and they say, well, God works miracles. So yeah, of course, he knows everything, but then if something goes awry, he throws in a miracle. Well, that's right, but he also knew that miracle was going to happen before you were born, right? Because he's omniscient, he's all-powerful, he's all-knowing. So he already knew that miracle was going to happen. So basically any act, God knows before it's going to happen, and essentially you just live your life kind of catching up to that. At least that makes sense, right? And this goes on right up until you die. And of course God knows that exact moment as well, and he knew that before you were even probably generations before you were even born, right? Because you're part of the total plan. And of course he knows where you're going to spend eternity, whether it's going to be heaven or hell. So to recap, God knows with 100% certainty, right, before you were even born, every sin or good deed you're going to do, so every act you're going to do, every moment of your life, when you will die, so the exact moment of your death. And remember, this is all with 100% certainty. There's no way he can't know exactly what's going to happen well before you were created, and whether you will go to heaven or hell, right? So my big question is, for those folks that God knows with 100% certainty if they're going to go to hell when they die, why create those individuals in the first place? I mean, why? Why create something that will live for essentially a moment, when you're talking about eternity, only to be tortured for forever. I mean, it just that's kind of the one part, and then that led to kind of this, what I call the bonus question, or this is kind of leads to even probably the bigger question. Going back to Genesis, if God knew that Adam would disobey him, now think about this. If God knew 100%, he can't be wishy-washy about this. He can't say, well, I'm going to create Adam and see what happens. He had to know 100% before he created Adam that Adam was going to disobey him. He's going to, eat the forbidden fruit and all that. And then also, if God knew that was going to happen, created him anyway, created Adam anyway, why was he so angry about it? Why the cursing and all that going on? Because he knew that was going to happen too. So essentially, he created a fallen world, knowing that he was going to create a fallen world. And then according to the Bible, very angry about it. So this is a question I wrestle with, and I've had some good discussions with other with believers about this, and this is just one for me. Like I said, a guy sitting on the fence on all this. I just wonder, what people have to say about that. So if you want to either leave a video response or better yet, just throw some comments down there. If you have some good ideas or an answer to this one, I'd love to read it. So thanks a lot.